Although the state will probably use self-professed KODAK black groupie, they did not just call Danny Polo a groupie, bro. Melly's team is wildin'. The YNW Melly trial is in shambles and it hasn't even started yet. Melly's team filed a motion to get rid of the entire state attorney's office again, and then the state filed a response to the defense motions about the supplemental discovery. In my last video, I explained how the state is trying to add lyrics and videos of Melly. This has caused chaos. Like, so much is going on. Both sides are blaming each other, and I'd be shocked if this trial actually starts on February 5th. The defense even said that if the state adds lyrics successfully, that this trial is going to be a 4-month trial. So yeah, this is in shambles. I'm going to read all of it. It's a lot. Prepare yourself. Buckle up. This is going to be a long video. Hit subscribe right now. Let's get it. All right, we got motion to dismiss for violations of due process and double jeopardy, and or motion to recuse entire state attorney's office. Again, they did this once before. They're doing it a second time, trying to get rid of the entire state attorney's office right here. So hold on. Quick word from our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. The pick'em game is perfect for the NFL season. All you do is pick whether your player will have a higher or lower stat total to win big. Just pick between 2 and 5 players for a pick'em entry. Underdog is available in 30+ states, including California, Texas, and Florida, and Canada. All right, here are my picks for this week's games. I got Brock Purdy getting higher than 248.5 passing yards. I got Terry McLaurin getting higher than 48.5 receiving yards. And I got Derrick Henry getting 1 or more rushing touchdowns. One of my picks was a scorcher, which means my max payout is increased. I just threw $100 at that, and if I get all 3 of my picks right, I get a max payout of up to $750. All you got to do is sign up on underdogfantasy.com or in the app store with promo code CUFBOYS. Click the link in the description right now, sign up, and they will match your deposit up to $100. So if you deposit $100 in, you'll also get a bonus $100. Underdog is also giving new customers a special pick of the week. All Jordan Love has to do is get more than 1 yard, and you're 1 pick closer to winning your first pick'em game. And that right there is the easiest way to win money on Underdog. Trust me, boys, this app is fire. There's other sports on there too, so trust me, go give it a try. Click the link below right now, sign up. Appreciate you guys. Here's the rest of the video. So Star talks about the incident with Melly's mom and Moretti in that office where Moretti snatched her phone, bent her wrist back a little bit, and apparently injured her wrist. But then the state attorney pointed out that she was moving her hands fine the same day on video, like she wasn't actually injured. Who knows if she was injured or not. According to Detective Moretti, the real purpose was to get their hands on her cell phone. Moretti was armed with a search warrant at the time of the investigative statement. She was asked questions regarding the subject. Was she working on the night of the murder? Was Mariah, Mr. Demon's girlfriend, living with her on the night of the murder? Did Mariah go upstairs during the night or morning of the murder? What was Miss King doing during the night of the murder? Miss Boutros testified that the questioning of Miss King was intermingled or intertwined between the murder investigation and the tampering with the evidence investigation. Surprising that Melly's team is still bringing up Miss Boutros when it was pretty much proven that she was a liar in some parts. I've made tons of videos about her being a liar, but I'll put one on the screen right here. It starts talking about the same issue with Moretti not having any jurisdiction to serve the search warrant and would be no more than an ordinary citizen. Obviously, Moretti knew this to be the law in the case, summoned the BSO deputy to be present during the statement. Moretti knew very well that Broward Sheriff's Office was the only agent that had jurisdiction. The Broward County Sheriff's Sergeant left the room, thereby taking his ability of Moretti to serve the search warrant. Outside of his jurisdiction with no legal authority, Moretti served the warrant of Miss King's cell phone. Moretti had no legal right to this phone as there was no Broward Sheriff's officer present. He physically took the phone from Miss King. We know all about this interaction already. Moretti, realizing that he had violated the law not only by serving the search warrant outside of his jurisdiction, but also by committing a battery and theft, said to Deputy Gorell, "You need to say you were here when I served the search warrant." I believe Moretti did say that. Like, he realized, he was like, fuck, they could find a loophole in that and say you weren't in the room. I think Moretti is a little bit of a liar, and he definitely said, yeah, you should say you were in this room with me. Apparently, Detective Moretti believed that since he was law enforcement, Grohl was law enforcement, and Miss Boutros was law enforcement, that they would all stick together willing to lie in order to violate Miss King's rights. However, that was not to be the case. Immediately after, Miss Boutros contacted her supervisor. She informed him that she was no longer with Moretti and to give the tampering case back to Christine Bradley, who was the prosecuting the defendant. But that was proven to be a lie. I don't know why they're bringing this up when it got exposed that was a lie. Why are they doing that? This seems incredibly dumb. The state proved that Boutros did indeed still work with Moretti after this situation for like a week straight, even contacting him, asking for updates, and still signing search warrants for him like over a week after this incident. On October 18th, Miss Boutros was given permission from the state that she no longer needed to deal with Moretti. Miss Boutros did ministerial acts such as signing subpoenas for Moretti. She further reached out to Detective Moretti to find out whether or not the download of Miss King's phone had been accomplished. She, along with Moretti, promised Miss King she would receive her phone back within 4 hours, or at most a day or two. Miss Boutros had seen this despair that Miss King had in not having her phone, and as one human being to another was trying her best to make Miss King whole again. So they're downplaying her act she did, but she was emailing a lot and messaging him a lot and still working with him after this incident. If Boutros was that disgusted with the way Moretti served the search warrant, I would imagine she wouldn't have still helped him a week later, even if she didn't have permission technically yet from the state attorney's office not to. That may seem like a good point to the defense, but I don't buy it that much. One would think that the state attorney administration, upon hearing that the lead detective in a murder one death case solicited perjury and was willing to suborn perjury, would second guess the prosecution and the work on the case Moretti had. One would expect a full investigation of this matter to be conducted. One would expect the state attorney's office to also investigate this. However, none of this occurred. Apparently, winning at all costs is the mantra of the state attorney's office. You can just hear the attitude in some of this. Although it was acknowledged at the highest levels of the state attorney's office that at minimum, Moretti's comments warranted a Brady notice to the defense, none was sent out. A big mistake from the state. They should have sent this out within a week or two of it happening. I don't know why they tried to hide Brady information from the defense. However, from April to July, Jamel went on trial for first-degree murder with a lead detective. Veracity was certainly at issue. However, Mr. Demons was without knowledge of this Brady and exculpatory information. Trial ended on a hung jury. One has to wonder, although it can never be proven, that the defense been armed with this impeachment material to Moretti, that the outcome could have been different. Certainly, one must acknowledge that it makes the verdict of a hung jury suspect. Could this sway the jury a little bit that the detective could have lied? Of course. But I still think the jury would see a lot of the evidence that points to that back seat Melly was in and be like, shit. Miss Boutros, given her integrity, class, and fealty due to her duty and constitution, Miss Boutros did not let the matter drop. She again contacted her supervisor. The state argued this was not Brady material. They argued that it was not interrelated when it was directly related. They argued that it was inadmissible. They argued successfully that the defense should not be allowed to take the deposition or receive the testimony of State Attorney Killeran, Attorney Falk, or State Attorney Pryor. As such, the bad faith of the state attorney's office keeps on dribbling out. Integrity, due process, and candor are not a strong suit of the state attorney's office. During the hearing on defendant's initial motion to recuse the entire state attorney's office, Mr. Klinger represented this court that there was no conflict of interest when Miss Boutros testified at trial. The SAO would remain silent and not cross-examine her. The entire tenor of the oral representations and written representations by the SAO was that Miss Boutros would not be subject to cross-examination by the SAO. In fact, when Miss Boutros testified at the motion to recuse Mr. Klinger to contradict her account or attack her credibility. Yet again, to the state attorney's office, winning is everything. On November 20th, Ms. Boutros testified again. This testimony dealt with the motions to suppress evidence filed by the defense. During her testimony, she indicated that she had been getting flack from the administration for her dealings in this matter. She expressed that what she has done was not easy. Having been an assistant state attorney for 20 years and now assigned to public corruption unit, her husband is a retired plantation police officer. She expressed that she had a duty to do the right thing and that her right thing was to tell the truth as to what Moretti said, and he was not joking. And this was the only time she said she would not work with a deputy or detective in 20 years. But she also is a proven liar, as she's on audio tape lying. But whatever, here we go. Not only did the state not live up to the representations made by Mr. Klinger in court, but actually attacked Miss Boutros. State Attorney Pryor had advance notice Miss Boutros was going to be cross-examined by her in office and allowed it to occur. The state went back through the 20 years of Miss Boutros' cases to find 3 cases that she may be involved with in which Moretti was involved. The purpose was that Boutros had stated that she did not believe that she had ever worked with Moretti before. So the state found other cases when she was on the stand saying she's never worked with him before. Kind of a bad look if you worked with him 3 times before, but on the stand you're saying you're not sure. Like, come on, bro. Ms. Boutros tried to answer the questions, but she was cut off in the middle of her answers by the SAO for which she works. And worst of all, during her argument, assistant state attorney with an unblemished record who has been assigned to the public corruption unit was called a liar. Not by the defense, but by those whose offices are just down the hall. Well, she was called a liar because she's on audio saying things to Moretti on the day of that incident, but then on the stand she says the complete opposite. She is still working at the SAO, therefore the state attorney's office cannot believe that she is a liar. They cannot believe that she is a liar as she is in the public corruptions unit. Yeah, that'd be ironic for them to still employ her, but she's a liar. I mean, she did lie about that certain thing, but that doesn't mean she's gonna lie about the rest of shit in her career, you know what I'm saying? If she is not a liar, then why would this office allow its members to go on record and state that she is a liar, thereby ruining her reputation? The answer is simple. Miss Boutros is not a liar, but the SAO office does not care. In fact, Mr. Pryor told Miss Boutros that he knew she was telling the truth and that Christine Bradley was a liar. Ooh, what? Mr. Pryor said that he thinks Christine Bradley is a liar? The state attorney's office got beef in there. Mellys' defense team is literally just making the state attorney's office implode. He even told Killeran that Bradley was a liar. They're willing to impugn Miss Boutros' reputation if it means winning this case. After all, this is a high-profile first-degree murder case with a celebrity charge. Winning at all costs is much more important than doing the right thing. As it pertains to Jamel, has lost sight that its goal is justice. They have lost sight that the goal is due process, not just inconvenience to get around. They have lost sight that winning the right way or even losing the right way is better than winning the wrong way. In fact, Attorney Pryor has on more occasion related to Boutros that she needs to keep her eye on the big picture. 2 people were dead. Apparently due process and justice be damned. The big picture is more important. That was a good paragraph right there. In essence, the SAO, rather than vouching for the credibility of one of its members, the entire state attorney's office believes this witness is a liar, thereby negating her testimony, not because of what she says, but because of who they are. Miss Bradley, the original prosecutor, who let the trial go forward to verdict without revealing the Brady material. Miss Bradley, who refused to give Brady notices even after the first trial, and then gave Brady notices that had to be redone by Killoran. Miss Bradley, who neglected Mr. Killoran's Brady notices, has had no negative repercussions. Why? Because she is seeking exactly what this office wants, and that is victory. Damn, they kind of just shit on Christine Bradley right there. On the other hand, Miss Boutros receives only flack from the state attorney administration, has her integrity impugned, been cross-examined when the state said they wouldn't. The cross-examination of Miss Boutros was approved at the highest levels of the state attorney's office, and she's been called a liar in the public courtroom. The foulness of this prosecution permeates the state attorney's office from the bottom to the top and back down, from Miss Bradley to administration and back down to the prosecutors currently handling this case. This is systematic and institutional. Bold claims from Melly's team. They're saying this is all one big plan. They were trying to hide these Brady notices, and now Boutros is being attacked in her offices by her co-workers. So they're saying this is a big systematic plan. They're trying to get rid of this whole office off this case. Will the judge do it? Probably not. Although there are assistant state attorneys assigned to this case, the prosecutor in this case is state attorney Harold Pryor. Mr. Pryor told both Mr. Killoran and Boutros that he knew that she was telling the truth. To allow his assistants and his name, then to do everything possible to call her credibility and to question, then call her a liar when they know she is not, is bad faith and prosecutorial misconduct. How are they going to prove that Mr. Pryor said this, though? That's the basis of this claim, is that Mr. Pryor told Mr. Killoran that he knows she was telling the truth. This is just all a lot of he said, she said shit. This actions of the state attorney's office violate the defendant's due process rights. All right, now we have state's response to the defendant's motion to strike the state of Florida's supplemental discovery, which I talked about in my last video, where they added the lyrics, the videos of him doing gang signs, videos of him in jail doing gang signs, like a bunch of shit, bro. Defendant's motion to strike the state of Florida should be denied, as the allegations cited within it are factually inaccurate and blatantly disregard the Florida law. This case involves exceptional circumstances which were beyond the control of the attorney currently assigned to this case. Defendant's first trial ended in a mistrial due to a deadlocked jury, and defendant retained a new counsel to represent him at the guilt phase of this trial. Defendant's newly retained attorneys altered their strategy, and they are entitled to, and filed several pretrial motions concerning issues which were not filed or litigated before the first trial. The defendant complains about the sheer volume of discovery. However, much of the specifically listed discovery was previously listed and provided to the counsel for the defendant prior to the first trial. Additionally, a portion of the newly added evidence and witnesses are due to the defendant's own actions in tampering with a witness, which could have not been provided until the state learned of such criminal activity. So they're saying, it's your fault, Melly. All these new witnesses blindsiding you. It's your fault, buddy. Oh my God, what a slap in the face, dude. That's so shitty. The state listed in part lyrics, audio files. Yeah, we saw this. The state's discovery obligation was satisfied when it listed the defendant's phone extraction on April 9th, 2019. This recent filing was a courtesy listing, as things recently reviewed, and is not a full list of what the state intends to use. The state is not required to list out every single item in the device, as that would physically be impossible. So they're saying, we have to tell you what we're going to use on the phone. We gave you the entire phone dump. They've been in their possession since April 2019. Their failure or inability to know how to search the device does not fall within the purview of the state. Dude, they're just shitting on this, bro. The defense has said that this device is not his. The items located within the defendant's device not only go to proving he was in fact the user of the device, but also admissions or adoptive admissions of the defendant, which are admissible at trial. The state also listed YouTube videos in its supplemental discovery. However, prior assistant state attorney also listed YouTube videos on April 19th. So apparently some of these YouTube videos are already in there. The state's most recent supplemental report also lists out what was already provided in discovery and merely spells it out for the defense so that the state is not once again falsely accused of not providing the discovery. And then they list jail calls, blah, blah, blah. So they're just trying to cover their ass to make sure the defense doesn't say that they're not providing it. Contrary to the defense's unfounded accusation that the state is using gamesmanship to get around its ethical obligations, the state is following the rules that all attorneys are bound to. Although the defendant had his phone privileges and visitation revoked due to his own actions, they're just throwing sneak disses like, bro, you put this on yourself. As well as being placed in a single cell with many security measures in place, the defendant continues to violate all these restrictions placed on him and therefore creates more discovery for himself, A defendant not tamper with witnesses, the state would not have gone looking for this evidence. The defendant is utilizing sophisticated techniques to circumvent all security measures that should prevent him from communicating with witnesses. The defendant also uses other documented blood gang members, inmates, to assist him in this criminal activity. This evidence could not have been provided any sooner as it is continuously taking place. They're just saying, Melly, you're doing this to yourself, brother. You keep providing this evidence, brother. Most of these witnesses cannot be deposed, thereby debunking the defendant's argument to the court that this is new discovery will delay the trial. It is evident that the defendant's motion was filed without first checking what they in fact already had in evidence. The state also listed out the potential lyrics and audio files the state will use at trial. These are the defendant's own songs and as such are clearly on notice of them. They are the defendant's own words and therefore amount to admission or adoptive admission. Further argument on their admissibility will be subject of another pretrial motion. So they're obviously going to argue if they can, talk about lyrics or show music videos to the jury too. Tough line to cross because if a, 70-year-old white lady sees Melly's lyrics or music videos, she's voting guilty no matter what, dude. The defense asserts there was an agreement with the previous assistant state attorney regarding not using lyrics or videos. That is simply not true. No agreement was ever made. Damn. Bradley was never asked if she would be utilizing lyrics or not. She did not believe she'd be using them. However, in the first trial, Miss Bradley had, in fact, attempted to use some audio of the defense music, which was objected in the middle of the trial. Furthermore, for the defense to state that an expert regarding rap lyrics was never engaged and a defense to the lyrics has never been explored is also a misrepresentation to the court. The defense listed a gang expert, Dr. Jesse De La Cruz, on April 1st, 2022. Typically, gang experts will testify to lyrics being used in a case. So they're saying the defense is lying about not having a gang expert or lyric expert of some kind. Additionally, the lyrics being used for purposes of admissions, motive, and premeditation are simply statements of the defendant. No expert is necessarily required for that. The meaning behind lyrics to the defense merely goes to the weight of the evidence when arguing to the jury. So they're saying just because Melly said it that, it's him talking, so it's allowed. But lyrics are so tricky because obviously you could have ghostwriters. People lie in songs all the time and it's an art form, so clearly it could just not be true. And I feel like a lot of these lyrics are going to be very irrelevant to the situation. We're gonna have to go through what you want to use, bro. That's what I would say. Like, which lyrics specifically do you say are relevant to this fucking case? As the court stated, just as the newly hired defense team has altered their strategy, so is the state. Despite getting exactly what it asked for new prosecutors in this case, the defense is now distressed that the newly appointed prosecutors are rising to the occasion and have developed a strategy of their own as opposed to reading a script from the first trial. Woo! I saw comments on my last video where people were like, damn, maybe Melly's team fucked up getting new prosecutors because these new ones that came in not playing games, bro. Maybe it was a mistake, bro. It's been the defendant's strategy all along to get this trial taken care of as quickly as possible for obvious reasons. You cannot tell the court you want a speedy trial knowing all the evidence is coming forward and then move to strike it when it does. Such a demand is clearly made in bad faith. The defendant was warned by the court on multiple occasions this would happen. The defense continuously misleads the court into believing that all these witnesses they would like to depose prior to opening statements are newly listed. They are not. In fact, some of these witnesses on their deposition list are witnesses they could have deposed during their first few years of trial. It was a defense strategy not to depose these witnesses who were initially listed in 2019. Not adequately preparing for deposition and knowing what questions to ask the first time around is not a legal basis for redeposing witnesses. I said that. I was like, they're trying to redepose someone to ask him more questions about a certain topic, but they should have already asked him about this topic. These follow-up of depositions appear to be a delay tactic. I don't know why Melly's team would want to delay this. In conclusion, the majority of evidence and witnesses listed in the state's supplemental discovery was previously listed by prior counsel and the defense has been in possession of it for years. Further, no agreement to use lyrics exists, and even if one did, by asking for the assistant attorney, having new ones appointed, all prior agreements, if such agreements existed, are null and void. You made us get... Ow, my jaw just popped, dude. Defendant Jamel Demon's reply to the state of Florida's response to the motion to strike the state of Florida's supplemental discovery. So now Melly's team is responding back to what I just read. This reply, filed in response to the state of Florida's response, will attempt as best as possible to address the plethora of inaccuracies and excuses presented by the state in the response. The following are a few examples of the untruths stated by the state: that the majority of the supplemental discovery was previously provided, that the prior assistant state attorney listed the same YouTube videos listed in the state attorney's supplemental list, the state of Florida fails to accurately list some new and additional witnesses, the defense is trying to do work that should have been completed the first trial. State of Florida's response goes well outside the four corners of the original motion. Along with listing additional witnesses, the state seeks to introduce YouTube videos, not only defendant, but a blogger by the name of 1090 Jake that has no connection to this matter other than the fact that Danny Polo is a crazed fan of his and cannot seem to keep his name out of his mouth. In fact, the defense would not even know of 1090 Jake if it was not for Danny Polo dropping him at any chance he gets. Hey, bro, shout out to Nutty Jake. That is so funny. But most troubling of all is that the state is now seeking to introduce the defense lyrics, videos, and album covers, despite the previous ASA assuring the defense counsel that none of it would be used. That ASA is not on the case no more, brother. So you gotta fucking figure it out. In response, the defense filed a motion to strike based on timelessness and the assurance that lyrics, most music videos, and art having nothing to do with their artistic expression. The state of Florida filed the response, arguing amongst other things that they are not bound by the previous assurances. The defense is not ready. The defense was on notice of the music. The response, however, did not address the state's willful violation of order issued July 28, 2023. Uh-oh, they violated something back in the summertime. At all times, the state is feigning that they need additional time to learn the case, but rather than learn the case, they continue to file additional witnesses and evidence never before the court, an effort to delay. State must finish discovery to a defendant within sufficient time to allow the defendant prepare for trial. This has not happened here. The jail calls come with indexes, and from the securest printout, the calls were indexed in August. Thus, they were in possession of the state and all the previous discoveries turned over. So they're saying they had all of this information in August, but they only turned it over on October 6th. They waited, a month and a half or something to turn it over. There's not a single scintilla of evidence that would lead a reasonable person to believe that Mariah Hamilton was tampered with by Jamel Demons. Yeah, there is. He fucking slipped a note to someone to read to her. The note said, "Tell ASAP Rocky's baby mama to stay in the Maybach." Meaning, don't speak. Don't speak to anyone. Interesting enough, the preceding that the witness tampering case alleges that Mariah Hamilton was kept away from a deposition that the defense scheduled after coordinating with Christine Bradley. However, when it came for the deposition, Bradley made several attempts to cancel the deposition with Mariah Hamilton, attorney of record. Okay? The depo did not go forward because Mariah Hamilton was avoiding being deposed. It was because Bradley failed to coordinate. Ooh. Mariah Hamilton actually gave an interview that she had several occasions tried to turn herself in, ultimately testify, but Bradley refused. The state should not be able to use non-relevant evidence to impede the defense's constitutional right to a speedy trial. So they're saying the evidence of this witness tampering is not relevant, and there apparently isn't good enough evidence to anyone that is pretty much a smart person, is what they said, to think Mariah Hamilton was tampered with. That's just kind of crazy. On July 28th, the court entered an order with set for discovery deadlines. Viewing into discovery, the order states that all trial exhibits must be made available no less than 10 days before the trial date. The state argues in paragraph 30 of the response that the defense is not prejudiced because the jury has been sworn and the defendant was on notice that this would be happening. Based on the foregoing Supreme Court ruling, the trial has started in the state of Florida is not in compliance with the order of July 28th. Ooh, so some Supreme Court case that they listed right there says otherwise than what the state said. Okay. They incorrectly allege that introduction of a TikTok video of Mr. Demon singing Kevin Gates is proof that the defense was on notice that Mr. Demon's lyrics will be used. I was confused by that too. I don't think that means the defense will be aware of that just from TikTok of Melly saying that Kevin Gates song. They is severely incorrect with this argument. As previously, Christine Bradley showed the TikTok video because she believed it was a confession. I remember that. Yeah. That had nothing to do with lyrics. She just said it was a confession. Rapping the lyrics out loud, saying that he killed his two best friends or whatever. Remember that? I don't remember what the lyrics were, but... The state of Florida, in good faith, alleged that the defense was aware that Demons knew that he could be Why did they word it so fucking annoying, dude? The state of Florida cannot in good faith allege that the defense was aware that Mr. Demons' lyrics could be potentially be used because of they knew. They fucking do so many goddamn typos that I can't fucking read it, dude. So they're saying that's bullshit because it's another person's song, pretty much. We're not going to get into that because that's artistic expression. That's not why we are here today. Wait, Bradley said that in her opening statement. The first state attorney, she said we're not getting that because that's artistic expression. Ooh. So Christine Bradley even says that it's art. Damn. Even if the defense had received a full extraction of the phone, it is ridiculous to believe that they would be on notice of certain audio snippets. It's too broad of a discovery to provide a download of and then expect one to guess among the millions of documents what will and will not be used. The state has listed approximately 55 songs, yet they fail to provide written lyrics or any idea as to what portion of lyrics will be used, if any. I agree. I'd say 99% of the lyrics in these songs are irrelevant. Like, legit. It has to be very specific for it to be brought up, in my opinion. Maybe that one lyric in 223s where Melly said he has two bodies. That's a little iffy. I feel like the defense can argue and be like, yo, this song was recorded way before this incident. Or like bring up something. Find out when the song was recorded and it's like say this has nothing to do with it because this song was recorded way before. So that would be my strategy if I knew that was the truth. Although the state will probably use self-professed KODAK Black groupie Danny Polo as the music expert, who happens to also be their gang expert, the defense is not obligated to do the same. They did not just call Danny Polo a groupie, bro. Melly's team is wildin'. They deadass just called the detective that wears the mask a groupie. That is so fucking good. There are a plethora of experts currently dealing with the sole issue of protecting artistic expression, and it will necessary to hire an expert in this specific field. Adding to the voluminous time necessary for motion practice directed towards the lyrics to be completed, the trial itself would now go on from 8-week trial to a 16-week trial. What? Melly's team is saying it could be a 4-month trial if they add lyrics. Any testimony of inmates have no relevance to a crime that took place prior to the defendant being housed in the main jail. That rules out the ex-killer, because I'm pretty sure Melly and him were in the same jail and he saw something or heard something. The state has clearly committed a discovery violation, but more concerning, defendant's lyrics are allowed and as evidence a month before opening statements. The state will have completely turned the tables on the defense by this surprise gotcha tactic. This is precisely the kind of procedural harm of which Florida courts frown upon, placing the defense in an impossible position. State argues they're the ones being prejudiced by the late additions of witness and evidence being stricken, but it's the state's actions that result in the defendant's constitutional rights being infringed upon. So the state is blaming the defense and the defense is blaming the state. Holy shit, does the judge have a lot to do here. If I was a judge, I'd be very overwhelmed. I don't think he's going to recuse the state attorney's office. That's not going to happen. The lyrics are a big issue. Apparently it could add 2 months to this trial. So yeah, this is a shit show. If you're new to my channel, subscribe, comment, Twitter, Instagram. Fucking love you guys. Peace out.